Hey everyone, thanks for joining. It's Corey of Blue Falcon Board Gaming. If you're new to the channel, I'm a United States Marine Corps veteran that started the Blue Falcon Board Gaming Group in the Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia tri-state area with the hopes of promoting positive mental health through board gaming, as well as to make board games more accessible to the community by hosting and co-hosting free events. Today, I am joined by Jay Banna. Jay, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So if you guys don't know, Jay is the designer of Savage, a game of survival, and it is one of maybe two social deduction games that I actually enjoy.
Much obliged. Much obliged.
Yeah. So, who's Jay outside of board gaming? What's a typical day look like for you? What's your background?
Let's see. Well, Jay is a family guy who I have two kids. Been married to my wife. Been with her for 10 years, and I work as a professional. I work in a professional career in the construction industry. Right now, I work as a consultant for managing multi-million-dollar projects for some of the top 100 companies in the nation.
Okay. So how did that construction background and the management side of things, how did that help you get into running your own company, Grinly Games?
Well, one thing about being a project manager is you're focusing a lot of your time on managing your scope, schedule, and budget. That's the trifecta of all construction management. So it was not too far fetched in when managing a project, just like running a company, factoring in what your expenses are, considering time, also factoring in your fluff, right? Things that you need, whether it's time, dollars, or even just resources to get where you need to be. While considering a realistic schedule, of course, accounting for that as well.
Yeah, I did a lot of different. It was so my MOS in the Marines. I was a 5711, and that's the CBRN, so Chemical Bio Rad Nuke Defense.
Oh wow.
But with that, we basically just did the gas chambers twice a year. That was basically the main portion of our job. So outside of that, we were in the training and operations section, the S3 shop. So it was constantly, seeing what the battalion's training schedule looks like, how many people need this, this annual training, what's the numbers on it, reporting on it. So it got me into, it really helped me kind of launch into being able to plan out multi events and stuff like that. So I've done a ton of different fundraisers and stuff. And I think, looking back on it now, it's been, God, 13 years since I've been out. Looking back on it now, that really kind of gave me that experience. So I could see, being a project manager for multi-million dollar construction company projects and stuff could definitely help.
It's funny because I feel like, man, there's just so many skill sets I've seen from a lot of other small publishers where they come from a variety of different backgrounds, even some that come from even the marketing world, where, I mean, marketing is something you definitely need as far as a structure in your company, especially if you have the background.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I've been trying to get more active on other social medias other than just Facebook and stuff. I've got a Kickstarter that I'm going to be trying to launch in May of next year.
Oh,
So I've
nice.
been trying to, build that TikTok presence and stuff. The board game community on TikTok's fantastic.
I do enjoy me some TikTok, that's for sure.
So how did you get into gaming? Maybe more specifically, modern board gaming.
Man, I started gaming when I was a kid. I mean, I feel like that's the general story. A lot of people go into board games, tabletop games. Actually, trading card games was kind of my first passion when I was a kid. Um, I I was very intrinsically drawn into creating something on paper. It started out with just an art love passion and art love, and then it turned into me being exposed to a variety of other games. I remembered the first game that I ever played that I just thought, wow, it blew my mind was, and most people don't know about this game, but it's called the Game of Mao. And I don't even know how I learned about this game, but it's just one of those standard 52 deck card games where you have a person represented as the Mao. Actually, the main rule of the game, which I don't want to dive too deep into, if you know the game, is you never talk about the rules. It's something you have to learn through playing. But for anyone who does decide to want to investigate more into the Game of Mao, feel free to do so. Super fun, really fun, like 52 card game that I got involved in with some friends. Um, and then through the passion of just curiosity, I created a lot of stuff on paper, whether sketch, arts, associating with other people who were passionate about it as well. And then about 4 years ago, as I was, in the process of marrying my wife, I thought to myself, as a gift for my groomsmen, there would be nothing more unique and to my character than to gift them, my groomsmen, a game of their own. And that's actually how Savage, a game of survival, was created. It started off as just a gift. Um, and then as we, you know, transitioned over to 2020, and COVID happened, and it created a lot of hiccups for me to want to publish sooner. It was also a blessing in disguise because it allowed me to really tone in on or fine tune into the core mechanics, just the presentation, the art, all of it, without getting too deep into the weeds. And I don't regret getting that extra time to publish it. But that was kind of what led to me getting into now. There's just been always a lot of interest in me wanting to be creative and to create games that'd be fun for other people to experience. And then about 4 years ago, I decided to do it by myself.
Awesome. Yeah, I don't think 2020 was the year to try to publish a social deduction 10-player game.
But
It was
surprisingly, a lot
probably
of people in COVID, they a lot of people. I talked to them about it, and they're like, "Yeah, I decided to make my own game." And I'm thinking, "Damn, maybe that was kind of like the gold rush of board games, right? People just got so excited about, oh man, I'm home all day and I'm working from home. You know what? I've always wanted to make my own game." And then, sure enough, a lot of other small publishers started coming to light.
Yeah, I definitely think that there was a big surge in like print and play games and then also solo games,
Oh yeah.
especially at the beginning of the pandemic and everything. And then also, all of the online platforms that have came out of it as well. I mean, BGA and Tabletopia and Tabletop Simulator, like they all stepped their game up.
No, I'm super stoked. I honestly felt that in the board gaming world. Not to say that something was more needed in the board game world, but I very much cherish and enjoy the people that are part of the board gaming scene, especially whenever I have a chance to go out to conventions, meeting with new players, just getting any board game, even ones that I may have played or not played, and just meeting with new people. To me, that's always the most enjoyable aspect of board games.
Yeah, I don't know what convention it was that you and Josh from Meeple House Games met, but he's the one that actually introduced me to Savage. It's Josh Gilbertson,
Yep,
but
he
yeah,
was a
yeah,
big
he
fan.
he
Actually,
had
we
told
met
me,
at Dice Tower West.
yeah, he had told me he was like, dude, I just played this game. I got to show it to you at Geekway and stuff. So whenever we met up at Geekway this year, he ran. I think there was 11 of us, so he kind of acted as like the overseer almost, and was like, "Hey, this is how you guys play," and then just made sure that we was playing it right. But we had a 10-person game, and it was fantastic,
Oh,
and it was
that's
just a bunch of
great.
random people. I mean, it was like 11 o'clock at night, I think, and it's just like, "Hey, who wants to play this?" And people walking by, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll give it a shot," and we all had a blast with it. So then after that, I picked up a copy of it, and I've taken it to CharCon in Charleston, West Virginia, ran a group there, and they were actually they it was in the play to win section. So
Oh
I don't
yeah.
know if they had bought it, if they bought it independently, or if you had donated it.
I
But one
believe
of
I
the
donated a game to them when I was
yeah
out at at a convention. I don't know which convention, but it may have been Origins for all I know. But no, that's awesome. You know
yeah, it's
what?
probably
Tell me,
Origins because it'd been Travis.
that's correct. I did run into Travis.
Yep.
He didn't know who I was. I just was a random guy walked by. Um, I was in the area. I recall this. I was in the area and I was talking with the Tantrum channel, the groups, the guys that were there, and then Travis happened to be there, and I wanted to like donate a game for the play to win. When I approached Travis, he said that all the play to win products were already set for Origins. So I was like, okay, and he goes, but I do have this other event, and I was like, sold. Here you go. Who knows where that would lead, but I'm all for anybody who would be interested in trying out playing Savage a Game of Survival, and that would mean a lot to me. So I gotta hear from you though, because if you played a 10-player game, those games get pretty hectic in a really, really fun way. What are some of the highlights? Like name like top three highlights, things that you recalled from that game. it's always something fun for me to want to know from a game designer's perspective.
So the biggest thing was the girl that was actually the traitor didn't even realize that she was the traitor. Like she looked at the card and it just didn't click with her for whatever reason. So that kind of threw a wrench in it and stuff. But I feel like in the 10-player game, it was much easier for the traders to kind of sneak by and stuff. But then I've also played it at 6 and 7, and around that area, like you've got to work if you're the trader to get by. It's not an easy, it's not a very easy game at all if you're the trader and you've got a low player count. So you've got to be really tactical with your decisions and how you're presenting yourself.
One thing to share, because we're kind of talking highly on the idea of design, and I feel like this is a great thing to transition into. One thing I had to make a choice when I was designing Savage, a long time ago, just to kind of give some history on this. There was a version of Savage where, and man, this was a while back. There was a version of Savage where I had instructions in the game where you would add a number of X of each type of cards based on the color border they had whenever you increase the number of players. And the logic was, if I do it that way, it will instill as much balance to ratio of success, or I guess effort needed on either party, as you scale up in number of players. So it basically would feel no different from theoretically from a 10-player game to like a 5-player game. Again, just the extent there. What ended up becoming a factor in the design aspect was, and I think I just kind of learned it through talking with other publishers and just getting insight from other people. There is no way to balance a game, especially a game that has a lot of number of players in range. So I knew I knew while I was designing the game that there was just no way that a game like mine could ever be balanced perfectly in every scenario. What I did come to accept it as a designer was the fact that if you were going to play a game with, say, 4 to 6, or 4 to 5 players, um, the strategy and the effort needed, depending on your role, will change based on the card draw, based on the circumstances of who's on your team, whatever it may be, and it will be different of a playthrough than if you're going to a 10-player game. And I kind of accepted that as a design choice. For me, it was more of a, for people who really, really enjoyed the game, they would know that as kind of as a takeaway when they are about to jump into a game with more or lesser players, given the play group that they're joining with.
Yeah, and so how did you decide on the number of rounds? Because I feel like that's one of the things that really adds that pressure, no matter the player count. You've only got 4 rounds
Well,
to
so
be able
funny
to
enough, it, it,
make a
it came,
plan and get it by.
yeah, actually, funny enough, it used to be 5 rounds. I want to say for the first year of testing, it was 5 rounds. But a lot has changed. Like from the very first iteration of Savage till now, a lot has changed since then. But what it came down to, just a shit ton of testing. I mean, it was to the point where I was playing. I had great friends in the local valley. By the way, props to the Arizona board gaming community. Just wanted to throw that in there. But props to them and their help uh, in really making it an effort to want to test in a variety number of players. And just from the thousands of games plays that we've done, I was able to collect enough data where it made sense to go down to a 4 round game. And then as you are increasing, or I should say, as you're decreasing the number of rounds, you're also having to increase the ratio of impactful cards versus necessity cards. So like, factoring your quantity of liquor or the quantity of disease. And actually, one thing that I had done with the Kickstarter version of Savage, and I don't know if you have the Kickstarter version, you may have had it. It actually comes with 7 extra cards than the regular base game. And the reason for that is because, one, there was a glitch in the manufacturing, so we were able to give extra cards. But the other plus that we thought was, well, although there's a recommended number of each card that's listed in the instruction book, for people that are more experienced, you can absolutely throw in the extra disease or the extra medicine or the extra food or liquor, depending on your preference with either number of players and or if you want to add more hecticness in the game. Um, So nice little kind of way to create some customization on the player's end.
Yeah, those diseases too, man. If you add too many of those,
Well, and I don't know
it
if you
gets
have you
rough.
don't have the Disease Z promo. Do you have it?
I don't believe so. I'd ordered right off the website, and I remember that it did
Yeah.
come with an extra pack of cards.
Yes. So
And I
that you
think it
got the
was just the
7
extra
from
item
the
cards.
Kickstarter version, but you don't have the and that would make sense because that came from the stretch goals. Stretch goals? I think so. Yeah, I think it was the stretch goals. So it was oh no, the Disease Z promo. Man, it's been a while. That was like I fulfilled that order back in May and completed, I believe, in May. I think it's been a while, but yeah, that there was these promo disease cards. So you know what disease does. I mean, from what the base game does, there's a promo disease card that says the exact same thing as what a regular disease card in the game does, but there's one slight change, and the change is when you draw a disease. It's called a disease Z card. When you draw a disease Z card, um, you reveal it, you draw a replacement card, or in my bad, you reveal it, and you may choose a player who receives the disease. And whoever you give it to, they draw the replacement card. So it's a very subtle difference versus you draw and you reveal and draw a replacement versus you give it to another player.
Yeah, and then I mean that adds another layer too for the trader too, because then where you have to give that to somebody else, like you could be good and give it versus if you're not if you didn't have to give it, if it
Yeah,
was
that's right.
optional, the good players are never going to give somebody else the disease.
Well, and better yet, what a lot of players like to do, especially with the disease Z, is they'll ask the question, who has a medicine? And then if someone raises their hand, they go, oh, here you go. And all that's really happening is they're finding ways to counteract the disease Z promo and then still benefiting off of the draw without taking too much of a risk. But that's at the end of the day, that's the ailment of disease, right? It's supposed to create a lot of stress and uncertainty to someone's health, especially with the knowingness to their role if they're going to get hurt or not from the danger die.
Yeah. Yeah, so we've been talking about the game a little bit. I know about it obviously and stuff, and then you're the designer, so you obviously know it. But what would be your pitch for anybody that may be listening or watching that's never played it before? How would you describe the game to them?
Sure. So, Savage is a game where you and your fellow survivors are trying to survive the end of the world. There's a better pitch I can't think offhand, but um, you're trying to survive the end of the world. And although you join forces with the people around you, some of them have evil intentions to eliminate the weak survivor, that being through natural selection. Um, as you're working together to gather resources in hopes to overcome unexpected events, the survivor team wants to do nothing more than to make it to the end so that they can be rescued by a formed civilization. Whereas traders feel that they're cultivating the civilization that they are a part of amongst their group. And the question is, can you survive the end of the world? So that would be kind of like I've ran into like a lot of circumstances where that's like a lot of the pitch. Just I've gotten shorter and shorter with the explanation, especially with some of the main representatives at the conventions that want something somewhere close to like 30 seconds of a pitch.
Yeah, and then like your turn may look like you can either draw a card and you're safe, potentially. You can roll the danger die to where you could potentially lose health. You can potentially draw a fourth card, but you roll the danger die and you get to draw three cards.
Mm-hmm.
And then
You could discard a
I feel like
matching
there's a
pair to
third
draw
action.
three.
Yep, and then you can discard matching cards from your hand to draw three,
That's
and
right.
not have to roll the danger die. But then you have to contribute to the food stock. You do that in secret, and then it goes to the next person. And then once everybody's contributed, the event card comes out. Or no, the event card comes out first, doesn't it? Because you have to know what you're contributing.
Yep, you determine who the leader is based on who contributes the most cards in the food pile,
There, yeah,
and then an event happens. After an event is satisfied, whether you succeed or fail, the leader reveals all the cards contributed into the food pile in hopes that the leader either feeds you or that there's enough food to go around.
yeah, yeah. And I like that you've got it in there too, to where it's another one of those where the traders have to work for it. You can't not feed somebody if they're on their last health.
That's correct. Well, you can attempt to, but then it would go to a majority vote. Oh, not of a majority,
Yeah.
yeah, majority vote, where that would, reveal a lot about your intentions. One of the cool things about Savage that I find very exciting is the fact that it was designed in mind where it doesn't care as much, and it was a design choice. It doesn't care as much as how good you are of being deceptive. It cares more about how you deceive your opposing team. So in other words, I've seen games, even myself, I've done this as a play method as well, depending on what cards are in hand and what position I'm in. I've had moments where I openly sabotaged. I starved everyone but myself, completely make myself a target, and then proceeding in the next round, I put maybe 6 or 7 food cards leading into the next round. Of course, at that point, there's hysteria because everyone knows I starved them the previous round. Um, but what it's doing is it's really taking away a lot of the stress from my fellow trader team members because now all eyes are on me. No one's going to pick me to go on a team. I can still contribute and potentially sabotage the food pile. Or become that one less option for people to choose when going on an event. But the game doesn't necessarily punish you if you are strategically sabotaging openly. I mean, granted, say beginning of the game, if you decided to say, "Oh, I'm a trader, and here's my liquor cards," probably not a good strategy. But most cases, people don't play that way. Most people, what they end up doing is they either do the deceptive route where they stay cool and collective, cool as a cucumber. And I've seen some that are just complete chaos. No matter if they're a survivor or a trader, they will go complete crazy on you, and they are a wild card. But those guys are also super fun to play with. So the game just provides a lot of a storytelling opportunity for people to just experience people and social interactions that the game creates a great opportunity for.
Yeah. Yeah. There was the one that I did at CharCon. It was with typical play group. And the one guy had his daughter there. So she was instantly just honed in on him. She's like, "You're the traitor." And he's like, "I'm not the traitor." Like, so then that kind of drew the attention to her. And she really wasn't. Like, me and him, we were the traitors. So like she just took all of this grief on herself by accusing so early, and it worked out for us. But we barely made it, though. Even at 6 players or whatever it was, we barely made it.
I think one of the biggest highlights I've seen that people had shared with me from their game experience was the unexpected food stockpile. The moment where the leader reveals the cards from the food stockpile one at a time. And then you see the numbers go up and down. There's some food. Oh, there's more liquor. Oh, there's more food. Oh, there's that much more liquor. Okay. And then it just gets down to, say, 0 or 1 or a few food, right? And
Yeah.
just the craziness of what in the world did you guys do to the food pile? And the hysteria that comes from it. So that tends to be one of the biggest exciting moments for people when they try the game, especially with the craziness of how helpful everyone's being, and then the realization that's exposed from the food pile.
Yeah, I always catch grief too, because like it never fails. I'll end up with, one liquor card and then like 2 medicines or something. And I'm like, "Look, guys, this is going to look suspicious as can be, but I'm discarding 2 medicine cards to draw 3 more cards. Like, I
Oh
have
no!
nothing good to contribute." And they're like, "Oh, it's pretty suspicious." I'm like, "I would not like tell you like this is
Oh,
what's going on."
you think
Like,
that's bad? There was a person. First time I've ever seen this happen. This was about a year ago. Um, so gentleman had no weapons, traps, or liquor. His hand was filled with food. Every card. And he was down to 1 health, and he still had 4 cards in hand. And he said, "Guys, I know this is going to look bad." And he discarded 2 food to draw 3 cards. And they're like, "What are you doing?" And he's going like, "Guys, listen, I can't contribute to the events. I would love the food." And it was a tough call. So like, yeah, it looks suspicious, but then the question comes, is it? And then, when it's funny that you mention that because, at the end of the day, when I explain the game, granted, not so much in detail on the pitch, but it is a resource management game at its finest. In a lot of ways, you're trying to outwit your opponents, and the opponents being either survivors or traders. Survivors can choose to hoard their cards, especially food, and then strategically place the food as needed as the rounds progress. And then vice versa. Traders could hold on to putting in liquor until the right seized moment for them to put more liquor into counteracting the food that's surplus in the food pile. It really just comes down to your strategy and preference, especially how you read the table. I've seen people, I've heard of people like try to create like almost like a guide of like what strategy to do, depending on which position you're in, how many cards were placed by the players prior to you. And in some ways, there's actually some logic to what they're saying. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to your awareness and capability, your awareness of the table and your capability of what resources you have and what you can manage each round.
Yeah, so if anybody wants to get a copy, it's just grinlygames.com, and it's going to be in the
Grinly
description
Games.
of the video and all of the links I post, but it's $35, y'all. Get
It's
it
a
before
super fun game.
Thanksgiving.
I will say that if you are a kind of person that really loves social deduction games and you want something different than what's typically been known for years prior, give Savage a Game of Survival a try. It is definitely an easy to learn, fast pace, fantastic experience type of game that gives that same type of vibe with a twist on social deduction as a genre.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it kind of feels like the Resistance and Dead of Winter have had a baby.
I've gotten that as well. You know, I totally get that because you get the resource management side from like the Dead of Winter when you're putting cards face down with uncertainty of who's putting what or how many, and then the role element of selecting a group to go on an event in hopes to survive the outcome. But the main twist on the events though is see with Resistance it cares about passing failing events or missions, whereas in Savage you could theoretically fail all four events and still survive at the end because the events don't care so much about surviving and failing. It all comes down to just the number of life that everyone has at the end of the fourth round.
Yeah, the events are basically you're either going to get punished or you might get something good.
Absolutely.
All right, so we are approaching 30 minutes here, so I want to respect your time. Before we go, though, Family Feud Fast Money. Trying to remember his name now. Gosh, Jason from the Champion faction. He is the current champion, and
Oh
he's
boy.
got 311 points.
Oh
So
wow.
it's just 5 questions. Act like you got 20 seconds. I'm not going to throw an actual timer up or anything.
Sure.
Get my calculator up here, though, because IR Marine, you can't do math.
You got it.
Yeah.
Let's do
right.
it. Let's see if I can beat it.
All right. So fill in the blank. Walk the blank.
Walk the line.
Okay. Name a country where practically everyone speaks English.
America.
Okay. Name something people do when they get nervous.
Move their fingers.
Okay. Name something a plumber uses to do their job.
Pipes.
You said pipes.
Yeah, pipes.
Okay.
Like copper.
And then, okay. And then name something about Peter Pan that's different from the average boy.
Flies.
So we had fill in the blank, walk the blank. You had said line. That was number 1 at 50.
Woohoo!
Country where practically everyone speaks English. You said America. That was 60. Or
Cool.
that was number 1 for 60.
I was going to
name
think
something
England. I was
people.
almost going to say England, but I was like America, whatever. I was trying to go fast and not take too long.
That was number 2 at 32.
Oh, really? Good.
Yeah.
Love it.
Something people do when they get nervous. You had said fingers.
So it was like moving fingers, but I did. There's a phrase I can't think of the term.
Okay.
I'll just accept it for what that's worth.
So we'll count that as fidget or squirm.
Yeah,
that was
that's
number
a better
3
word.
at 20. So bite nails or fingers was number 1.
Okay, that's fair.
Something a plumber uses to do their job. You had said pipe. That was number 4 at 3 points. Number 1 was wrench.
Yep, wrench.
And then something about Peter Pan that's different from the average boy. He can fly. It's number 1 at 77. So your total was 210.
Woohoo!
So
Not quite
101
first, but I'll
points
take
shy.
it. What's that? I know,
Yeah, you're
100
not.
shy. That's okay.
It's
I
not.
forfeit that title or the chance of that having that title. I'm good with it.
It's not the worst. It's not the worst. I think Josh had got like 47 or something.
Oh,
Like,
dang.
yeah, it was bad. It was something that was like name something you've got a complete set of, and he was like, "Oh, Disney Lorcana," and I was like, "This isn't going to be in Family Feud, dude. This was printed."
Wait, he has the complete set of Disney Lorcana. What the heck? That's crazy.
He's almost got it actually. He's a few cards shy right now. I'd actually a local shop just got a restock, so I picked him up a couple booster boxes to send to him because none of his stores out there can get them. So
Oh, damn. Well,
he'll have
I
that
also
on the
got
way
into
to him.
Lorcana, so we'll see what that or how long that will take for me to try to get into another local tournament.
I'd gotten to I got the starter decks. So I'd bought a few packs and cracked them and stuff like that. But then I was like, okay, I know how bad I got with Magic, and I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole again. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to get the starter packs, be able to teach people how to play, and be done with it.
Well, so fun fact about Magic though. I play Magic. I play Commander. I created a Commander themed deck based around Savage: A Game of Survival. And so I do a thing where if you beat my commander deck, in a 4-player pod or whatever, the player who beats my commander deck wins a free promo for the game of Savage: A Game of Survival. And that's always created one hell of an icebreaker when I get to a table.
Yeah, that's a good little marketing strategy too.
Yeah, I don't know anyone else, publishers or anything that's doing that, and I actually tried suggesting it to some others locally, but they're it's not really for them. So it's okay. I'll enjoy playing some MTG while also sharing a little bit about my personal projects.
Yeah. All right. Well, Jay, I appreciate your time, man. It was a blast to talk to you. I love the game. I'm not big on social deduction, but this is one that I usually take with me anytime I'm going out to an event or anything. I don't know what exactly is different about it that I'm just like this is it. Because like the resistance, I don't like the resistance. Coup, not a
If
fan
I
of
were to
coup
take
or anything. Like
if I were to give you some info from what I've been told is, and it seems to be the consensus, a lot of people prefer Savage a lot of the times because it's a lot more interactive, right? When you think of games like, well, I'm not going to make mention of social deduction games if you've played them, but if you were to think of Savage where, everyone's conducting a turn, doing 3 actions next person, and then you're even so much as watching a person roll the danger die, somehow that is engages your interest. Watching the leader put all the cards in the food pile, read what event they need, people actively saying, I have that weapon or a trap or a liquor, and then witnessing the food pile being revealed, your attention is always maintained throughout every round. And a lot of people really embrace that for how it plays each every time when they play it with a group. So it seems like that is what really draws a lot of people in, is the fact that it does do a great job with keeping that engagement when people are trying out the game.
yeah, I think so. Now that you say that, because it's like somebody will be like, "Oh, I've only got one thing to contribute. I've only got one, trap or whatever." And then the next turn, they only draw one card and they place down 2 traps on the next turn. And it's like, thought you only had one of those, bud.
Exactly. Or like they draw that one card and it's a disease and you're like, oh, that just sucks, dude.
Yeah,
even the watching of a person drawing a disease card, and them accepting an unfortunate ailment, like that in itself somehow draws your attention and interest. So I just think that the style of how it plays is what helps keep interest engaged, and I think it contributes to the good experience that comes from Savage. So again, can't speak enough about it. I do appreciate the opportunity. Thanks for having me jump on and talking a little bit of a game and about the game, and also my personal projects. And I also appreciate your service. I wanted to make sure I'd throw that in there, and I
thank
appreciate
you.
you taking the time to jump on here.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate you.